Centuries ago, humanity was cast out from the Galactic Council, banished to the farthest reaches of space, far from the bustling heart of the galaxy where the most powerful civilizations resided. The leaders of the Council, made up of various advanced alien species, had deemed humanity too reckless, too unpredictable, and far too stubborn to ever be part of the galaxy's peaceful union. The humans' nature to rebel, their relentless desire for independence, and their refusal to follow orders made them a threat to the delicate balance of power. So, with no mercy, the Council condemned them to exile on Earth, a forgotten planet on the edge of the universe. Earth, once a thriving hub of human innovation, was now a shadow of its former self, worn and scarred by wars, natural disasters, and the slow decay of time. The Council assumed that humanity, with its broken spirit and shattered world, would never rise again. They were wrong. Captain Alara Kane stood atop a rocky hill, looking out over the barren landscape of Earth, the planet that had once been home to billions. Now, only a handful of survivors remained, scattered across hidden colonies, fighting to hold on to what little they had left. Alara, a young but fierce leader, had inherited the role of guiding humanity's future from the previous generation. Her people had lived in exile for centuries, forgotten by the galaxy they had once ruled. However, she refused to believe that their story was over. While the galaxy believed humanity to be lost, Alara had always felt there was something more, something hidden beneath the surface of their planet, something that could change everything. For years, she led teams of explorers searching the ruins of Earth for signs of humanity's once great achievements. Their efforts had been fruitless until one fateful day when a buried structure was uncovered deep beneath the surface. It wasn't just an ordinary ruin. This was something far more important, a hidden repository of ancient human technology left behind by an earlier forgotten civilization. The technology was unlike anything the surviving humans had seen before. Advanced machines, weapons, and knowledge that hinted at the true potential of humanity. Alara knew that these discoveries could be the key to not only surviving their exile but to reclaiming their rightful place in the galaxy. As she and her team dug deeper into the secrets of the ancient technology, they uncovered fragments of an old human space probe that had been sent out centuries ago, before the banishment. The probe had traveled beyond the galaxy, capturing messages from the stars. Among the countless data streams, one particular message stood out. A final transmission from the probe, a warning, seemingly left behind by someone who had known of humanity's destiny. The message was brief but powerful. Do not underestimate them. They will rise. Alara felt a shiver run down her spine as she read the words again, her heart racing. The message was unmistakable, a prophecy of sorts, telling her that the galaxy's rulers had made a terrible mistake in casting humanity aside. She glanced over at her team, each of them equally shocked by the cryptic message. The probe had traveled through the heart of the galaxy, far past the boundaries of known space, only to return with a warning. It was clear that someone, perhaps, even the ancient civilization that had once stood alongside humanity, had foreseen the possibility of humanity's return. Alara knew that this wasn't just a warning. It was a call to action. If humanity was to rise again, they would need to rebuild from the ashes of their past, to harness the lost technologies that had once made them masters of the stars. But this would not be easy. The Galactic Council, unaware of humanity's survival, would not take kindly to the return of a species they had worked so hard to bury. The galaxy had grown complacent, confident in their superiority, and the Council would see humanity's resurgence as nothing short of a threat. As the sun set over the cracked surface of Earth, Alara's mind raced with the possibilities. Her people had been forgotten, written off as weak and insignificant, but now they had a chance to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. It wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a fight for redemption. The first step was to rally humanity to unite the scattered colonies and prepare them for the challenges ahead. But in the back of her mind, she couldn't help but wonder who had sent the warning and why they had known that humanity would one day rise again. Would the galaxy be ready for the storm that was coming? Only time would tell, but Alara knew. One thing for sure, humanity's time had come. As the days passed, Alara and her team delved deeper into the secrets of Earth's forgotten history, working tirelessly to uncover the truth behind humanity's banishment. Armed with ancient texts and damaged data logs, they pieced together the pieces of a long-lost past. What they discovered shocked them. Humanity had once been a force to be reckoned with, not just a scattered and exiled species, but a powerful empire that ruled over vast stretches of the galaxy. Centuries ago, humanity had been the dominant power, influencing galactic politics and shaping the course of history. But that power had drawn the attention of a coalition of ancient alien races whose fear of humanity's growing influence led them to devise a ruthless plan to dismantle the human empire. The Galactic Council, now the ruling body of the galaxy, had not always been in control. The council was formed after humanity's fall, a group of powerful species that saw themselves as the new order of the galaxy. They quickly realized that humanity's greatest strength was not in their weapons or technology, but in their adaptability. Humans could rise from any defeat, rebuild, and thrive in ways that other species simply could not. The galaxy's elite feared that, if left unchecked, humanity would rise again and challenge their rule. So, they banished humanity to the farthest corners of the universe, hoping to erase them from memory. What the Council failed to realize was that in their haste to suppress humanity, they had underestimated the very thing that made them dangerous: their ability to survive, evolve, and fight back. Alara's heart raced as she read through the ancient data logs. The Council's fear was not unfounded. Humans had once controlled advanced technologies capable of reshaping entire star systems, and their fleets had been unmatched in their strength. But those days had long passed, and now, in the quiet ruins of Earth, Alara had to wonder, could humanity reclaim that lost glory? Her thoughts were interrupted by a discovery that would change everything. Deep beneath the surface, hidden within the remnants of a long-forgotten military base, Alara's team uncovered something that seemed impossible: a massive starship. It was unlike anything they had seen before, an ancient relic from humanity's golden age. The ship was colossal, its sleek design and advanced systems speaking to a time when humans had been at the height of their power. As Alara stood before the ship, she could feel its significance. It was more than just a piece of history. It was the key to humanity's future. The ship was equipped with technology far beyond anything the Galactic Council possessed: weapons and systems capable of challenging the most powerful fleets in the galaxy. If they could restore the ship, humanity would not only survive, it would rise again. The team worked around the clock, using their limited resources to begin repairs on the ancient ship. As days turned into weeks, the ship slowly came back to life, its systems flickering with signs of life. Alara couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and excitement. With this ship, humanity had a fighting chance. But just as the crew thought, they had turned a corner. Strange things began to happen. The ship's sensors, long dormant, began to pick up unusual activity in the area. There were readings they couldn't explain, shadows moving in the distance, energy signatures that didn't match anything known to them. It was clear that they weren't alone. One evening, as Alara and her team gathered around the ship's control center, a sudden, eerie silence fell over the base. The usual hum of machinery stopped, and the air seemed to grow thicker with tension. Alara glanced at her team, her instincts screaming that something was wrong. Then, without warning, the walls of the base trembled, and a deep, guttural growl echoed through the corridors. It was an alien sound, one that sent a chill down her spine. Before anyone could react, the lights flickered, and an explosion rocked the outer perimeter of the base. A sense of dread filled the air as Alara and her team scrambled to defend the ship. They had no idea what they were facing, but it was clear that whatever it was, it had been watching them for days. The unknown alien force had finally made its move. As the team rushed to secure the ship, the shadows around them seemed to grow longer, and the sound of heavy footsteps echoed from the darkness. They were not alone. Alara's pulse quickened as the realization sank in. Someone, or something, had been waiting for them to awaken the ancient ship. The question now was, who were these mysterious beings, and what did they want with the last remnants of humanity's power? With the base under attack, the crew had little time to think. They needed to get to the ship, to defend it, and to figure out who or what was hunting them. But in the back of Alara's mind, a single thought gnawed at her. Had humanity been left behind for a reason? And if so, was the galaxy truly ready for their return? Just as Alara pondered her next move, something extraordinary occurred. A massive, ancient warship appeared on the outer edge of the galaxy. It was unlike any ship humanity had ever built, and its design suggested it was of human origin, but it was older, far older, than anything in their records. What was most unsettling, however, was the energy it emitted. It was unlike anything Alara had encountered. Dark, almost unearthly, it pulsed with a power that sent a chill through her spine. The ship moved silently through the stars, its arrival, timed perfectly with the growing unrest in the galaxy. The ship was not like anything humanity had ever created, yet it carried the unmistakable signature of humanity's past. And its arrival meant one thing: it was here to join their cause. But what was this ship? Where had it come from? And why did it seem to draw on a dark, mysterious power that no one could explain? As Alara watched from the bridge of her warship, the dark silhouette of the ancient vessel loomed in the distance, a harbinger of something far more dangerous. The galaxy was about to be caught in a storm that no one could predict, and the true nature of humanity's rise was still unfolding. Humanity's rise through the galaxy was like the sudden eruption of a long-dormant volcano, unpredictable, violent, and unstoppable. Under Alara's leadership, the human warships, brimming with cutting-edge technology and superior tactics, swept through system after system. It started with the small colonies, those who had once been sympathetic to humanity's cause, but soon it grew into something much larger. Each victory brought new allies, planets that saw the power of the humans' resurgence and decided to join their ranks. Alara's vision of a reborn human empire was no longer a dream. It was becoming a reality. The people of these new worlds swore fealty to the cause, pledging their forces and resources to support humanity's growing strength. The Galactic Council, now deeply divided, was scrambling to mount a defense. But it was too little, too late. The humans, with their superior strategies, weapons, and the element of surprise, were proving to be an unstoppable force. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was seeing the might of the humans who had once ruled it. But in the midst of their successes, Alara stumbled upon a discovery that would forever change the course of humanity's rise. It was the ancient warship, the dark ship that had appeared from nowhere, the one powered by an energy that seemed unnatural, almost alien. Alara and her team had managed to uncover its deepest secrets, and what they found was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The warship wasn't just a weapon. It was a key to a power that humanity had once harnessed, a technology capable of manipulating the very fabric of stars. The warship's core was designed to tap into the energy of a star, channeling it into unimaginable forces. It was the ultimate weapon, capable of turning the tide of war in an instant. But such power came with a price. The technology was unstable, its energy dangerous. If misused, it could unravel the fabric of the universe itself, creating chaos that could destroy not just the enemies of humanity, but the very stars that gave life to the galaxy. The choice was clear. Humanity could control this power, or it could destroy them. Alara knew the risk, but she also understood that they had no choice but to use it, at least for now. The galaxy's rulers would not allow them to exist without a fight, and she would need every advantage she could get to ensure humanity's survival. However, as the war raged on and the Empire expanded, Alara was faced with a growing conflict within her own ranks. Her brother, General Kale Kane, had always been a presence in the background, a powerful figure in the Galactic Council, and for a time, he had secretly supported her cause. But Alara had always felt a distance between them, a gap that had widened, as their paths diverged. Now, Kale's true intentions were becoming clear. He had not been helping Alara for the sake of humanity's survival. No, his vision was far darker. He wanted not just to overthrow the Council, but to destroy it entirely and reshape the galaxy in his own image. To Kyle, humanity's rise was not about reclaiming their former glory. It was about making them the absolute rulers of the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as gods. His plan wasn't just to win the war, it was to tear down everything that had come before and replace it with a new order, one where he would sit at the top. He believed that humanity had the right to wield the ancient powers of the warship to become untouchable, to make themselves the supreme beings of the galaxy. His vision was not one of justice or restoration, but of domination and control. Alara was horrified when she learned of her brother's true goals. She had always known him as a man of honor, a soldier with a sense of duty, but the more she uncovered, the more she realized that Kale's ambition had consumed him. It wasn't just about humanity's survival anymore. It was about remaking the universe in his own image. He was prepared to use the warship's dark energy to create an empire where he was the unquestioned ruler, and he didn't care what he had to destroy to achieve that. Alara's heart broke as she realized that her brother, the man she had once trusted, was now her greatest enemy. The tension between them came to a head in a moment of intense confrontation. Alara stood on the bridge of the warship, watching. As Kale approached, his face hard with determination. His voice was cold, his intentions clear. He had activated the warship's dark energy, triggering a chain reaction that began to destabilize the system. Stars flickered and trembled as the very core of the warship hummed with power. The reaction was escalating, and if it continued, it would tear apart an entire star system, taking millions of lives with it. Alara's breath caught in her throat as she realized what was happening. Kale had pushed them to the brink of disaster, and now she had to make an impossible choice. Could she stop her brother before it was too late? Could she save humanity from the very destruction he had set in motion? The dark energy pulsed, and with it, the fate of an entire star system hung in the balance. Alara had one chance to stop. The madness. But would she be able to save her people? Or would she be forced to choose between her family and the galaxy itself? The weight of the decision crushed her, and as the countdown to destruction ticked on, the galaxy held its breath. The galaxy was now a place of constant upheaval, where nothing was certain except the imminent collapse of the old order. As humanity's rise continued to push the Galactic Council to the brink, cracks began to appear within the once powerful institution. Factions that had once stood united under the banner of control began to fracture. Some council members, unable to ignore the undeniable strength of humanity, turned their coats and swore allegiance to Alara's cause. They saw the writing on the wall. Humanity was the future, and it was better to be part of the coming empire than to be crushed beneath it. But just as many, if not more, dug in their heels, desperate to preserve their power. They began to make desperate alliances, even with the most unlikely of enemies, hoping to slow humanity's march forward. Alara found herself navigating a complex web of shifting allegiances, secret deals, and open betrayals, all while the shadow of her brother loomed over her. Kale's madness had only deepened since their last confrontation, and with each passing day, his ambition grew more dangerous. But it wasn't just the Council that posed a threat. The truth about the ancient warship, this dark vessel that had fueled humanity's resurgence, was becoming clearer, and with it, a terrible revelation. The warship's dark energy was not a product of human engineering, but rather something far older, a technology left behind by a civilization so ancient that its name had long been forgotten. This technology had the power to rewrite the very laws of reality itself. It was capable of manipulating space and time, bending them to the will of whoever controlled it. Alara's heart sank as she pieced together the final fragments of the puzzle. Her brother, driven by his insatiable thirst for power, was dangerously close to unlocking the full potential of this force. If he succeeded, the galaxy would no longer be a place of order and balance. It would be a shattered realm, twisted by the whims of an uncontrollable force. Alara knew she had to stop him, but every moment that passed made it harder to keep the situation under control. In the midst of this chaos, the final battle began to take shape. The Council's loyalists, bolstered by remnants of its military might, made one last stand against humanity's forces. The battlefield stretched across multiple planets, with fleets clashing in the dark void of space and on the surface of worlds, torn apart by war. It was a battle of ideals, humanity's fight for survival and rebirth against the crumbling remnants of the Galactic Council, which sought to preserve a broken system of rule. Alara's forces, though vastly outnumbered, had the advantage of superior technology and unmatched resolve. Yet, her greatest enemy was not the Council's military might. It was her brother. Kale had become a force of nature, and his obsession with the dark power of the warship had turned him into something far more dangerous than she could have ever imagined. The ship hummed to life as Alara ordered the crew to take their positions. Outside, the unknown alien force closed in. The battle for humanity's future had just begun, and Alara couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of something far greater and far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. After the harrowing battle to defend the ancient ship, humanity's long-forgotten empire began its slow, cautious rebirth. Against all odds, Alara and her loyal followers had managed to hold on to the remnants of their power, and now they had the means to fight back. The old starship, once a symbol of humanity's lost greatness, became their foundation. With its advanced technology, they began to rebuild, piece by piece. Alara united the scattered human colonies across the far reaches of the galaxy, sending secret messages to those still loyal to the old empire, encouraging them to rally to their cause. In the shadows, they began to gather resources, shipyards, hidden on distant moons, old weapons caches, and forgotten factories long buried beneath the surface of lifeless planets. The people of humanity, once broken and lost, were starting to rise again. But Alara knew the stakes were high. The Galactic Council would not allow humanity's return without a fight. Their first priority was to prepare, to bide their time until they were strong enough to confront the powerful forces that ruled the galaxy. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about reclaiming their rightful place. Humanity had been betrayed, exiled, and forgotten, but they would not stay hidden forever. Alara's mind worked relentlessly, strategizing how to make the best use of every resource they had. And while the people worked to rebuild, Alara had a more secretive mission in mind: the development of weapons, massive, galaxy-shaking weapons that could give humanity the upper hand when the time came. She knew that the galaxy's rulers would never simply accept humanity back into the fold. There would be bloodshed, there would be war, and they had to be ready. Back in the heart of the galaxy, the political landscape was shifting. As rumors spread of humanity's revival, tensions within the Galactic Council began to rise. Whispers in the council chambers talked of a resurgent species on the fringes of the galaxy, of a once proud empire that had been cast aside, but was now rising from the ashes. Some members of the council, especially those with more cautious, tendencies argued that humanity's return should be welcomed. They believed that humanity, with its resilience and tenacity, could be an ally, a stabilizing force in the galaxy. But these were in the minority. The majority of the Council, including the most powerful races, saw humanity's resurgence as a direct threat to their authority. They remembered the power of the humans, and they feared it. Some called for humanity's complete eradication to ensure that they could never again rise to challenge the established order. But amidst the Council's division, there was a secret faction, a group that had its own agenda, one far more dangerous than the rest realized. This faction was led by none other than Alara's estranged brother, General Kale Kane. After years of serving in the military of the Galactic Council, Kale had grown disillusioned with the Council's leadership. In secret, he had begun to manipulate events from within. He had seen the potential of humanity's return long before the rest of the galaxy had, and he believed that the time for rebellion had come. Unlike Alara, who sought to reunite humanity and restore their lost glory, Kale had a different vision. He believed that humanity should seize power, not just return to their old ways, but reshape the galaxy in their own image. To do that, he needed to control the Council from within, using his position to weaken their hold on the galaxy. His infiltration was meticulous, and soon, he had become a shadow within the Council, pulling strings, sowing chaos, and setting the stage for humanity's rise, whether Alara agreed with his methods or not. As the weeks turned into months, the pieces were slowly coming together. Alara's forces had successfully constructed their first warship, a formidable vessel that was now fully operational. The starship, once dormant and forgotten, had been restored to its former glory, equipped with the latest human technologies, including weapons far more advanced than anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. The crew was ready, the ship was prepared, and the time to strike had finally arrived. As the ship was primed for its first mission, Alara stood at the command center, her eyes fixed on the vast expanse of space beyond. She knew that this moment would change everything. The galaxy was not prepared for what was coming. Humanity had been forgotten, but now they would remind the galaxy of their strength, their ingenuity, and their will to survive. And then, as if answering the call to arms, the massive warship, gleaming in the cold light of distant stars, emerged from the shadows of deep space. It was a silent giant, a symbol of humanity's return. The galaxy's ruling powers, still blissfully unaware of the threat looming in the void, had no idea what was coming for them. Humanity was back, and this time they weren't just fighting to survive. They were fighting to reclaim their empire, and nothing would stop them. The first move had been made, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The day humanity made its first move, the galaxy was forever changed. Alara stood on the bridge of their newly completed warship, the weight of her decision pressing on, her like the gravity of a collapsing star. After months of rebuilding and planning, she had ordered the first strike, a bold attack on a small, isolated alien colony that had long been a symbol of the Galactic Council's oppression. It was a small target, but it was a message, a statement that humanity was no longer willing to sit quietly in the dark corners of the universe. The colony, located on the fringe of galactic space, had no chance against the might of humanity's first warship, but Alara had no intention of sparing them. The people of this colony, while not directly responsible for humanity's exile, represented everything that had been wrong with the Council's rule: complacency, subjugation, and the belief that they could silence an entire species with a simple act of banishment. When the warship's weapon systems powered up, it was a sight of pure, unrelenting force. The blast hit with precision, striking key power nodes across the colony in a series of controlled explosions. Within minutes, the once thriving settlement was nothing but burning rubble. No messages, no surrender, no plea for mercy. Humanity's message was clear. They had returned, and they would not be ignored. The galaxy was stunned. They had assumed humanity was nothing more than a dying relic, a species lost to time. Instead, they witnessed an act of ruthless efficiency, a strike so surgical, so fast, that it left no room for doubt. Humanity had been underestimated, and now the galaxy would know the consequences. Back in the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. Leaders from various systems scrambled to make sense of the attack. How had humanity pulled this off? Where had they gotten the resources, the technology, the firepower? The Council had thought the humans' military capabilities were long gone, erased by time and exile. But they had been wrong. As rumors spread about the attack, some planets that had once viewed humanity's return as a mere fantasy began to reconsider their position. There were whispers of rebellion, of planets secretly sympathetic to the human cause. Yet not all responses were as hopeful. Many systems, particularly those in power within the Council, saw this strike as an outright declaration of war. The Council began to rally its forces, mobilizing fleets to take action against the emerging threat. They were determined to suppress humanity's revival before it could gain momentum. But as the galaxy reeled from the shock, Alara faced a battle of a different sort, one that was fought within her own heart. The moral cost of her decision gnawed at her. While she knew the strike was necessary, that it had been the right move to assert humanity's strength, the loss of life weighed heavily on her. She had always believed in the righteousness of their cause, that humanity's fight was not just about survival, but about reclaiming their place in the stars. Yet, with each colony they struck, with each life lost, the question of whether they were becoming the very thing they had once hated lingered in her mind. Was this how empires were born? Through the fire of conquest and destruction? Or was she losing sight of the very ideals she had fought for? Meanwhile, across the galaxy, her estranged brother, General Kale Kane, continued his secret work within the Council. He had ascended to a powerful position, using his influence to manipulate the inner workings of galactic politics. But Kale's motivations were not the same as Alara's. While she fought to restore humanity's empire, Kale had grown obsessed with his own vision of power. He sought not just to see humanity rise, but to control the galaxy through subversion and secrecy. His role within the Council gave him the perfect cover to work from the inside, creating divisions, weakening alliances, and orchestrating conflicts, all to prepare for the day when he would betray both the Council and humanity. As Alara's military campaigns gained momentum, Kale knew it was only a matter of time before the inevitable conflict erupted. His loyalties remained murky, and his true plans remained shrouded in secrecy. As the final confrontation approached, Alara's forces moved closer to the heart of the battlefield, where Kale's warship loomed ominously in the distance. It was a massive, foreboding presence, its dark energy crackling with raw power. The closer they got, the more Alara felt the weight of the decision that lay ahead. The galaxy was teetering on the edge of oblivion, and the fate of everything she had fought for came down to this moment. Her brother was waiting, perched at the helm of the warship, ready to unleash its full might. His voice, when it came through the communications channel, was cold and filled with malice. He had no illusions left. He was not just fighting for victory. He was fighting for complete domination. And if that meant destroying everything in his path, so be it. Alara's hands tightened around the controls of her ship as she prepared for the inevitable. The battlefield was a maelstrom of explosions, laser fire, and shattered ships. But everything around her faded into the background as her mind focused on her brother. The warship's power was growing with each passing second, and Alara knew they didn't have much time. The universe itself seemed to be holding its breath, waiting for the final blow to fall. Her forces were locked in a brutal struggle with the Council's last defenders, but her eyes never left the silhouette of the warship. She couldn't afford to lose focus. She had one chance to stop Kale, to stop him from unleashing a power that could tear the galaxy apart. But Kale wasn't just her brother anymore. He was a man who had crossed a line from which there was no return. The moment of truth arrived as Alara's ship finally closed in on Kale's warship. The final battle had begun, and there was no turning back. Alara could see him standing on the bridge of the warship, his eyes filled with the dark ambition that had consumed him. She knew this confrontation was inevitable. It was not just a battle for control of the galaxy, it was a battle for the soul of humanity itself. As the two ships neared each other, the power of the warship surged, its dark energy filling the air with a sense of impending doom. Alara's heart raced as she prepared for what was to come. The fate of everything hung on the edge of this final showdown, and she was ready to face her brother one last time. And then, in the midst of the chaos, Alara's comm system crackled. To life, her brother's voice piercing through the static. "This ends now, Alara." The final showdown was about to begin. The final battle had reached its peak, and the galaxy seemed to hold its breath as Alara and Kale faced each other on the precipice of destruction. Their ships hovered in the midst of a war-torn galaxy, the ancient warship crackling with dark energy as the forces of humanity and the remnants of the Galactic Council clashed in the skies above. Alara's heart raced, her mind clouded with the weight of the decision that loomed over her. The air between her and Kyle was thick with the tension of their final confrontation. As they fought, both in space and in spirit, Alara felt a growing realization deep within her. The true power of humanity was not in the destruction they could unleash, but in their ability to change, to adapt, and to grow. Humanity had endured the harshest of trials, survived betrayal, and built something greater than themselves. That was their real strength, not their weapons, but their capacity to rise above their circumstances, to turn adversity into opportunity. In the heat of the battle, something within her clicked, and Alara knew she had to act. The ancient technology of the warship, once seen as a tool of untold power, was not meant to destroy, it was meant to restore. It was capable of rewriting the very fabric of reality, but only if it was wielded with understanding and balance. Kale had sought to control the technology for his own ambitions, but Alara knew that the key was not to dominate the galaxy, but to heal it. As their ships locked in a final, desperate maneuver, she made a choice that would forever change the course of history. With a heavy heart, Alara reached for the control panel, her fingers trembling as she accessed the core of the warship's power. The energy surged, and for a brief moment, the galaxy itself seemed to pause, as if it too were holding its breath. Alara could feel the weight of the decision on her soul. This was no longer just about stopping her brother. It was about ensuring the future of the galaxy, of all life within it. She turned the power toward healing, toward undoing the damage Kale had inflicted, and toward bringing balance to a fractured universe. The technology hummed with a new purpose, its dark energy shifting and recalibrating into something pure. But the cost was great. Alara knew that to wield such power came with a personal sacrifice. As the energy of the warship enveloped her, she felt her very essence intertwining with its core. Her life force was bound to the ship, and the more she pushed its power toward balance, the more it drained her. The realization hit her all at once. To restore the galaxy, she would have to sacrifice herself. Her body and soul would become one with the ship, and in doing so, she would ensure that the forces of chaos would never again tear the galaxy apart. The galaxy would be saved, but Alara would be lost to it. As the final pulse of energy surged from the warship, the battlefield fell silent. The energy, once dark and destructive, now radiated with a brilliant light, spreading out across the galaxy. The warships of the Galactic Council ceased their fire, and the forces of humanity stood in awe as the war was finally over. The damage done by the Council's old ways had been undone. the galaxy, now united under humanity's banner, would begin a new era, one of peace, cooperation, and mutual respect. The old council's remnants, those who survived, were absorbed into the new empire, their power and influence now reshaped in humanity's image. In the aftermath, as the galaxy began to rebuild, a memorial was erected on Earth. It stood as a testament to the resilience of humanity, the species that had once been forgotten and cast aside, but which had risen to become the guiding force in the galaxy. The memorial was not just for Alara, but for all those who had fought and sacrificed. For this new future, it was a reminder that humanity's true power was in their ability to change, to grow, and to become something greater than themselves. As the years passed, a new generation of humans looked to the stars with hope and determination. The galaxy was theirs now, but the lessons of the past would never be forgotten. They understood that with great power came great responsibility, and they would continue the journey their ancestors had started. Alara's legacy lived on in their hearts, a guiding light that would lead them through whatever challenges lay ahead. And as they gazed into the endless expanse of space, they knew one thing for certain: humanity, the once banished and forgotten species, would always rise again.